Hey friends, imagine you're a young woman sitting anxiously in a clinic waiting for your name to be called. You're scared, unsure, but you're here because you need help. Not just for an abortion, but for a breast exam or to get screened for cervical cancer. Now imagine being told the clinic might shut down, not because of a scandal or mismanagement, but because of a single line buried deep in a federal law. This is not fiction. This is what's unfolding across nearly 200 Planned Parenthood clinics in America. And at the center of it, a controversial new tax law signed by former President Donald Trump, one that many headlines aren't fully explaining. So what is this law? Why does it target Medicaid funding? And what could this mean for millions of Americans who rely on these clinics, not just for abortions, but for life-saving healthcare? Let's unravel the story together. And hey, if this kind of deep dive interests you, where we connect political decisions to real human lives, then maybe hit that subscribe button. Here on Mr. America, we dive deep into stories that mainstream media often glosses over. In 2025, amidst the noise of campaign rallies and economic debates, a quiet but seismic policy was passed under the guise of fiscal responsibility. Under President Trump's new tax law, any healthcare provider that performs abortions and receives over $800,000 annually in Medicaid, reimbursements for other services is now banned from receiving any federal Medicaid funding. Now, Medicaid isn't just a small part of the system. It provides healthcare access to over 80 million low-income Americans. And Planned Parenthood, it serves around 2.4 million patients annually, offering everything from STI testing to cancer screenings to contraception. But here's the twist. While federal law already prohibits Medicaid funds from directly paying for abortions, except in rare cases, this new law goes further. It punishes organizations simply for providing abortions at all, even if none of the federal money is used for that. Why is this $800,000 figure important? Well, it's structured in a way that excludes small independent clinics, but strategically targets major Planned Parenthood centers, almost 200 of them, spread across the U.S. Let's be clear, this isn't just about abortion, it's about access. Imagine a small town in Texas or Ohio where the local Planned Parenthood is the only place within 50 miles offering low-cost health services. You shut that down and suddenly people don't just lose abortion access, they lose routine screenings, contraception, HIV tests, and even prenatal care. In a 2024 report from the Kaiser Family Foundation, it was found that 62% of Planned Parenthood patients consider it their only source of health care. Take Emily, a 27-year-old mother of two in Indiana. She's never had an abortion, but she goes to Planned Parenthood for birth control and yearly cancer screenings. With the clinic near her losing federal funding, she now faces a 3-month wait at a local hospital just to get a PAP smear. This law doesn't just affect those seeking abortions. It affects mothers, teenagers, low-income families, and especially women of color who are statistically more dependent on Medicaid-funded clinics for routine care. Now here's where it gets even more interesting and chilling. Why this approach? Why not an outright ban on abortion? Because that wouldn't survive a constitutional challenge easily. But by targeting funding, not the procedure itself, the administration sidesteps legal hurdles while effectively crippling providers. This tactic is known as indirect regulation, a way to squeeze an industry without legislating it directly. It's clever, quiet, and brutally effective. It's the same strategy some states have used to limit access to voting or dismantle public education, not by banning them outright, but by making them nearly impossible to access. And it's no coincidence that the threshold, $800,000, was set just above what most independent abortion clinics receive, but directly hits major Planned Parenthood centers. So here's the question I want to ask you, and please comment below. Do you think this is about saving taxpayer money, or is it a strategic way to control reproductive rights through financial backdoors? This law comes at a time when the 2024 election reshaped the U.S. political landscape. Trump's return has brought with it renewed focus on conservative social policy, and abortion has once again become a battleground. In fact, since Roe v. Wade was overturned in 2022, 21 states have passed severe abortion restrictions. But with growing public backlash, especially from suburban women voters, the new playbook is less about bans, and more about defunding providers until they shut down. Meanwhile, Democratic lawmakers and civil rights groups are calling this law a deliberate attack on women's health care disguised as fiscal policy. Planned Parenthood has already filed multiple lawsuits arguing that the law violates the Medicaid Act's freedom of choice provision, which says patients have the right to choose any qualified provider, and some states like California and New York are pledging to cover the funding gap using state money. But others, especially in the South and Midwest, are left with crumbling infrastructure and no backup plan. And if you've made it this far, maybe consider subscribing, because this is the kind of story that deserves deeper, ongoing attention. Mr. America is here to connect the dots and spotlight the real human cost of political decisions. So here's what I'll leave you with. In the end, this law doesn't just test a policy, it tests a question. Who gets to decide what kind of healthcare is worthy of funding? Is it a patient and their doctor, or a politician with a calculator and an ideology? We often hear that healthcare is a human right, but rights mean little when access is stripped away by bureaucracy, quietly, clinic by clinic. Let's not wait for the next election cycle to care. Let's care now. And speak up for those who no longer have a voice in the room where these decisions are made. Leave me a comment. Do you think this law will survive court challenges? Or will public pressure force a rollback? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if this story moved you, please share it and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next time we pull back the curtain. Because here at Mr. America, we believe every law has a human story. And we're here to tell it. Stay aware. Stay vocal. See you in the next one.